Good evening. This is STV News. The government held the Council of Economic and Fiscal Policy Chairman, Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga, on the 18th to achieve the government's economic outlook to increase the real GDP growth rate to 4.0% from the previous year in 2021. Have a discussion, we will steadily implement additional economic measures with a business scale of 73.6 trillion yen decided on the 8th, aiming for an early recovery of the economy that was hit by the spread of the new coronavirus infection. According to Economic Outlook, approved by the Cabinet on the same day, a V-shaped recovery scenario will be adopted to return the real GDP for the January to March period of 2010 to the level of the October to December period of 2019, annualized 548 trillion yen before the spread of the infection. At the monetary policy meeting on the 18th, the Bank of Japan decided to extend the corporate financial support measures introduced as a countermeasure against the new coronavirus for half a year until the end of September 2021, toward the inflation rate of 2% of the goals. Also be determined policy to disclose the results, inspect the monetary easing measures to prospect the March 2009 meeting. The current large-scale monetary easing centered on long and short-term interest rate manipulation was maintained. In addition to the extension of corporate financial support measures, the upper limit of funding 100 billion yen has been abolished for financial institutions that are engaged in their own loan to small and medium-sized enterprises, in addition to virtually interest-free and unsecured loans. Encourage aggressive lending, and alleviate corporate financial instability. On the 18th, the government decided to issue 37,260 billion yen of deficit financing bonds in 2021, compared to the initial budget for FY 2008, 25,446.2 billion yen. It will increase by nearly 12 trillion yen. This is because the general account expenditure will increase to 106,610 billion yen, which is the largest ever in FY 2009 budget, while the tax revenue forecast will remain at 57,450 billion yen due to the spread of the new coronavirus infection. The distorted fiscal structure that makes up for the lack of revenue by issuing government bonds, which is the national debt, is worsening. The total amount of new issuance of deficit financing bonds and construction government bonds will be 43.6 trillion yen, which is 11.40 trillion yen higher than the beginning of the previous fiscal year. It is the first time in 11 years that the amount of government bond issuance has increased from the initial level. Construction government bonds decreased by 770 billion yen to 6,340 billion yen. At a press conference on the morning of the 18th, Yasutoshi Nishimura, the minister in charge of economic revitalization, said that the infection situation of the new coronavirus is worsening in Tokyo and other places. I would like to ask for the cooperation of the people and the people again, he said, calling for shortening the business hours of restaurants. Mr. Nishimura introduced the recommendation of the new coronavirus infectious disease control subcommittee, which requested that a large number of year-end parties and New Year's parties be postponed in areas where infection is widespread. Regarding the shortening of business hours, he emphasized, I would like to ask the business operators to respond to the shorter working hours requests of each governor. The Bank of Japan's governor, Haruhiko Kuroda, said at a press conference on the 18th that he would not review negative interest rates over the verification of monetary policy. Bank of Japan Monetary Policy Decision meeting was held on the same day. check for the current monetary easing, to determine the policy, to disclose the results to the prospect of the meeting of March next year. On the 18th, the Democratic Party for the People held an extraordinary party convention for the representative election in Tokyo, and Yuichiro Tamaki defeated Takai Ito, a member of the House of Councilors, and decided to continue. The term of office is until the end of September 2023, with the next House of Representatives election ahead. Mr. Tamaki will be asked again whether he can expand the slumping party. In the representative election, 2 points will be given to each member of the Diet, 7 members of the House of Representatives, and 9 members of the House of Councilors, and 1 point will be given to candidates for the next House of Representatives election, 14 members. A total of 92 points were contested, with 23 points allocated to local councilors and party members, supporters. One prospective candidate is absent from the extraordinary party convention due to the public affairs. As for the voting results, Mr. Tamaki overwhelmed Mr. Ito with the local assembly vote and party member supporter vote and got a total of 65 points. Mr. Ito shared the parliamentary vote with Mr. Tamaki, but only 26 points in total. On the 18th, former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said, "I would like to answer in good faith as soon as the results of the investigation are available. I would like to respond in good faith to the Diet," and express his intention to respond to the explanation in the Diet, he told reporters at the member's office building. The opposition party strongly demanded Mr. Abe's explanation in the Diet. The ruling party is also coordinating to respond, and the House Steering Committee wants to implement it. Opposition parties have insisted on attending public venues, including perjury witnesses who would be charged with perjury if they gave false answers. Yukio Edano, the representative of the Constitutional Democratic Party, emphasized to reporters, "Because I lied in the Diet, it is ideal to be charged with perjury." The party's chairman, Jun Azumi, told reporters, "I can't accept the invisible form of the people. I should answer in a difficult situation where perjury can be questioned." Regarding the timing, he said, "It is natural that it will be realized by the end of this year." Kumeito Secretary General Keiichi Ichi said at a press conference, "It is important for politicians who are suspicious to be accountable. I hope they will explain it well." Minister of Health, Labor and Welfare, Norihisa Tamura, said at a press conference after the cabinet meeting on the 18th that Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga had a dinner with 7 people, including Toshihiro Nikai, the Secretary General of the Liberal Democratic Party. "I want you to listen to the voices of other people, so I want you to balance actions to avoid infection and information gathering." The government subcommittee on the new coronavirus warns that a meal of 5 or more people increases the risk of infection. Mr. Tamura pointed out that the situation was misleading, so the Prime Minister himself is sincerely reflecting on it. He said, "It is our desire to have the people avoid meetings with a large number of people as much as possible." Enemy-based attack ability to destroy launch bases such as ballistic missiles in the territory of other countries. It also includes reconnaissance to find the launch location and the ability to thwart enemy counterattacks. Based on the 1956 Prime Minister Ichiro Hatoyama's reply that the government does not think that it is the purpose of the Constitution to sit down and wait for self-destruction. An enemy-based attack is allowed if there is no other means. Take the position of, on the other hand, there is a strong opinion that such attacks deviate from the principle of exclusive defense based on Article 9 of the Constitution. The Ministry of Finance has finalized the outline of the 2021 government bond issuance plan on the 18th. The total amount of issuance is 236.0 trillion yen, an increase of 82.5 trillion yen from the initial plan for FY 2008, in addition to the new government bonds that make up for the lack of financial resources in the general account. Refinancing bonds and FILP bonds that will be used to redeem government bonds issued in the past will also expand significantly, set a new record high on an initial plan basis. On the 18th, the Cabinet Secretariat drastically renewed the contents of the site that explained the sovereignty of Okinawa Prefecture, Senkaku Islands, and Shimane Prefecture, Takeshima, of the materials collected in the Commission Survey of Experts that started in 2014. 75 items related to the Senkaku Islands and 57 items related to Takeshima are posted. With this renewal, we would like to make this site a digital base for the research on territory and sovereignty. Hachiro Okonogi, Minister for Territorial Disputes, said at the press conference after the cabinet meeting, "We will publish it in English, one after another, to deepen our understanding of Japan in the international community." The Tokyo Metropolitan Government announced on the 18th that 664 new coronavirus infections have been confirmed, although the number decreased from 822, the highest number ever, to more than 600 for 3 consecutive days. The spread of the infection remains unstoppable. According to the capital, by age group of newly infected people, those in their 20s, 185 people, were the most, followed by those in their 30s, 139 people, and 40s, 101 people. There are 83 people over 65 years old. The number of seriously ill people was 66, the same as the day before, according to the city standards. Taro Kono, the minister in charge of regulatory reform, announced on the 18th that he has prepared a manual for reviewing seals for the local governments. The aim is to promote the abolition of stamping of administrative procedures, not only by the national government, but also by the local governments. At a press conference, Mr. Kono emphasized that in order for administrative procedures to be convenient, the national and local governments must work on both wheels. He called on the local government to work hard. The manual stipulates that as for the criteria for reviewing the seal, asking for an approval seal is not very effective as a means of identity verification, so it is basically abolished, and that the seals such as the registration seal without a seal certificate will be reviewed. The Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, JAXA, found that the spacecraft Hayabusa 2 collected at least 5.4 grams of sand on the asteroid Ryugu and returned it to Earth on the 18th. It was well above the target of 0.1 grams. According to JAXA, when the weight of the container sample catcher containing the sample in the capsule was measured, it was 5.4 grams, heavier than before the launch. It is thought that it increased by the amount of sand that went inside. DAIJI KAZUMINE, real name Terada Kuniharu, manga artist, died at 8:04 a.m. on November 27 due to cerebral hemorrhage. 84 years old, born in Tokyo. The funeral was done by a close relative. The mourner is Kazuko's wife. He made his debut in 1956 and worked on many cartoons of special effects hero, works such as Seven Color Mask and Spectreman in 2005. He received the Japan Cartoonist Association Award Special Award for the complete works of DAIJI KAZUMINE in the half-century of painting. World Boxing Organization WBO former flyweight champion Kosei Tanaka challenged WBO super flyweight champion Kazuto Ioka on the 18th At a remote press conference, he expressed his enthusiasm for the cause settlement, saying, "I'm going to beat him until the last second." We also released how to make light adjustments by heating meats. Tanaka aims to conquer the fourth class of the second Japanese boy. Following Ioka, he has been devising countermeasures, such as contacting Nietes from Philippines, who has beaten Ioka. To hear about his weaknesses, he raised his rank and was freed from the pain of weight loss and expressed a fulfilling expression, saying, "The preparation and finish are the best ever." DENA announced on the 18th that it will acquire Shunta Tanaka, infielder 27, as a personal compensation for outfielder Takayuki Kajitani, who transferred to the Giants as a free agent FA. Shunta Tanaka joined the Giants in 2018 from Kanagawa, Tokai University Sagami High School, through Tokai University and Hitachi Ltd. In fifth place in the draft, this season, he played 48 games and had a batting average of 20%, 6 minutes and 5 minutes. Through the Giants, Shunta Tanaka said, "The experience of being raised by the Giants is an irreplaceable asset. I will do my best to make use of what I have learned and contribute to the victory in the new world." The joint practice of the sumo wrestling began on the 18th at the Sumo Training School in the Ryogoku, Kokogikan in Tokyo. Participated with the addition of the Takesho with Sonobu and Asanoyama, 13 Sakitori gathered. Hakuho won all the 14 with Abusaki and seemed satisfied. "I think he sweated well." He explained that the condition of his right knee with an old injury was very good and said that he wanted to practice with various types of people. Sururyu, who has low back pain, limited to basic exercises such as shikona. He intends to take sumo in the near future and said, "I want to go step by step while observing my physical condition." The joint training will be held by wrestlers who wish to participate until the 23rd. While training is prohibited due to the influence of the new coronavirus, it will be the only opportunity to meet the wrestlers in the other rooms for the first place. That's all for today. See you next week for another news update.